And I'd like for us to have a chance to talk about those days and what it was like to be part of it. Don?
Well, it was funny because when I lived in Chicago and as a punk teenager, I didn't know really hardly anybody that was into the sort of thing I was. I didn't have any. When I moved out to California, everybody was a fan or a professional or something, so it was a big deal for me. And we, Paul and I met. I was the Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine had a amateur movie contest, and because I was fairly well known for making amateur movies when I came out here, Forey Ackerman asked me if I would be a judge. And so I was one of the judges, and he was the winner. Paul's film, and then we still didn't know each other, and then we were on a Writers Guild picket line once, one of the many times the Writers Guild goes, their annual strike.
Many years later.
Yeah, and we just struck up a conversation, and one thing kind of led to another. Well, you're, and that's how we met each other. But it was different because in those days you didn't have a lot of things to collect. There was very little. There was no DVDs or VHS tapes or anything, and if they came out with one like a Aurora plastic monster kit or something, that was a big deal because you didn't have a whole room full of stuff like that like you have here. So that's how pretty much it was. It was things I think meant a lot more to some of us back then because they were so rare. They weren't so ubiquitous like they are today. I hope that answers the question.
It was really a surprise to me when I found out that Don Glut had been one of the judges in that Famous Monsters contest. How many of you know who Forrest J. Ackerman was? Okay, so a small smattering of you. He was the editor and principal creator, I would say, of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. The original, around 200 issues. So a lot of us who ended up on the Transformers had started out basically as Monster Kid fans when we were teenagers. And we all had a different path to get into the business. For me, getting aboard the Transformers as production coordinator was really a tremendous break. And it happened because Gerald Muller, who was one of the producers on the television show.
Was?
Jerry Muller. No. Gerald Muller.
Oh, Gerald Muller.
Excuse my pronunciation. Gerald Muller. He was being assigned to work on the Transformers feature, the animated feature. And Nelson Shin, who was our supervising producer for the Transformers show, he said to Gerald, who should we get to clone you? Because we need someone to take over your job on the daily show. And Gerald and I had met through being students at the American Film Institute, and we had worked on a project together recently, and he suggested me to Nelson Shin. So when I had the opportunity to meet Nelson Shin, and I didn't know the Transformers at that point, when he walked me around his office and showed me the storyboard pictures for the Transformers feature they were doing, I was seeing all these characters for the first time. But I had a strong production background. I had already done television production with F. Lee Bailey on the show Lie Detector. And I had been doing animation since I was in college. So Nelson hired me on the spot. He gave me the job that day and had me start. My interview was at 11 in the morning, and he had me start after lunch at 2. So very quickly I came up to speed. There had already been a handful of Transformers already made, maybe 8 or 10 of them. But I was aboard for 79 of the episodes. One of the great discoveries I made when I was looking at the scripts and the writers was when I came across Donald Glut's name. Don had been really an expert in dinosaurs for many, many years. He's written dinosaur dictionary, dinosaur encyclopedias. He has like the head of a pterodactyl in his living room, I think, still. Among many other creatures. And I quickly discovered that Don had been really the main writer for the Dinobots. and we'd already had a couple of Dinobuts made. Later, when I became a writer also, I did one that featured the Dinobuts, and it was Grimlock's New Brain. Thank you.